Hi, Dr. Copeland. This is my response to the Week 7 prompt. Week 7 is discussing suicide, and the question posed is, what are some of the legal and ethical issues discussed in your text or other resources in regards to the counselor or psychologist role with students at risk for suicide? In terms of the text, I found more information in my book for 511, which is the School Counseling Principles, Ethics, and Law, 3rd edition, Carolyn Stone, as opposed to the text that's actually required for this course. I found there was more information pertaining to suicide in that text. And something that really stuck out to me in regards to that was that each case was very different. So, with respect to suicide, I think that there is no specific case that's necessarily the same. There were instances of friends reporting strange or odd behavior and, or an event that occurred after the fact, and then the counselors were able to retrace the steps of students and their behaviors and mindsets and piece everything together after, the tragedy had already occurred. So, I think the main thing to focus on and concentrate on in regards to suicide for the school counselor is to avoid negligence. And what I mean by that is anything pertaining to suicide should be taken very seriously and should be reported and should be followed through. So there were some examples of negligence in the ethics and law text where students reported a friend of theirs acting odd or skipping class or making remarks or statements that were troublesome and worrisome, and no one on the administrative standpoint followed through with these statements and followed through with the student until something tragic had occurred and it was far too late. So I think the main thing to consider with suicide, again, is to avoid negligence. And to, like we always say within the profession, is to advocate for systemic change. So to try and provide prevention resources before it gets to something as tragic as suicide. So whether that's starting a depression help group or trying to reach out to those students and provide them with resources, maybe outside counselors, or referencing them to a club or something that can get them, into a better mindset where suicide is not something that they're considering. And then in addition to that, I would say also to, have open communication with all students and to make the student body as a whole feel comfortable reporting any sort of remarks. Kind of having like an open door policy and letting the students know that you take their concerns to heart. So, if one student observes another student making a troubling comment, in regards to suicide, that they won't feel discouraged or scared to report it. And I think that can kind of avoid possible or potential pitfalls if these behaviors are reported well in advance to a possible or potential suicide. So in regards to suicide, again, the most important thing in my opinion is to avoid negligence, because there can be a lot of legal, components in addition to a counselor that's just not following through with their students. We always have to keep in mind we need to do what's best for the student. We need to be advocates, and we need to provide, systemic change so that danger and suicide is not even an option, hopefully, in anyone's mind. So thank you for allowing me to respond to this discussion, and I look forward to seeing you in class this week.